today's episode, we dive deep into the evolving landscape of college basketball with shifting tides, the transfer portal's impact on college basketball. Join us as we dissect the seismic shifts caused by the transfer portal and its implications for teams, players, and fans alike. In this podcast, we unravel the complexities of college basketball's new era, drawing parallels to NBA's free agency frenzy. From NIL cooperatives to unlimited transfers, we explore how the game is morphing into a realm of fluidity and opportunity, challenging traditional norms of loyalty and team building. And don't forget to check out Season 1, focused on the 1987 Final Four. We just updated our artwork so it's easier to differentiate between Season 1, focused on 1987, and our episodic stream of episodes. Now, on to the show.
First question I wanted to talk about was, do you like the new era of this transfer portal NIL? And the reason I asked this is that I'm like, I know you like the NBA, but I'm deep in the NBA. Like, I know the salary cap. I could tell you about what the second apron means. And it feels like college basketball is stepping in that direction with, this is free agency, right? And that they don't have a salary cap yet, but you have your cap sorted by how much you can raise. There's now some rules where the school can interact with the NIL cooperative, so it's stepping towards like the school having a little more control. They're sort of in the shadows right now where it's like there's still some, I think, weird stuff there. I don't know. I just think it adds to the off season. I definitely would not. I feel like 5-10 years ago, you're not talking about Indiana basketball or college basketball in late April, after the Final Four, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like it, but I don't like it. I liked it better whenever it was only one transfer. Now that they have, what I believe, if I read it right, is now they're going to let unlimited transfers as long as they go to class. Now, what I don't like about that is basically every single year a player can just say, hey, I want this money, or I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, that's what I mean. You can renegotiate it. But the reason that I think they did that is because if you're a college, just a regular student like you or I went to Purdue my freshman year, and I can just go to IU. I just went to IU my sophomore year, and then if I wanted to, I could have transferred somewhere else. So there's nothing that limits me from transferring. So why should they? If they're only student athletes, again, like I think that the steps that they need to take are towards professionalizing it, right? Contracts, and instead of here's some NIL money to come here, it should be like sign a 2-year contract to play for the university, and then you get the money. And if you leave, just like the coaches, you can make it guaranteed. I guess that could be part of, again, the contract structure. Maybe you incentivize a guy even if he ends up leaving, as long as he doesn't sign somewhere else, and then they end up paying him. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Well, I've heard some of the things where they've said that some of these guys that have joined the portal late, right? They were waiting for their last NIL checks.
Right.
Because if they left, then they wouldn't have got their checks.
Well, that makes sense.
So that's why some of these guys have came in so late, the big name people, because they were waiting to get paid. Yeah. And so it kind of is contracted already.
It is a little bit, but it's with these like cooperatives that are not technically associated with the school. So I mean,
they are though.
I know, but not officially though.
Because like when you go on a visit, I guarantee you during the visit, like they say, okay, well for the next, we have this operative. Yeah. Like, I know you're wanting to talk to him, so here we're going to set aside, a dinner. You can go talk to them, and then tomorrow, it could be as early as the first day they're there.
Yeah.
Like the night they come in, they might say, well, we're not going to meet with the coaches and stuff. We're going to maybe have like a little formal meeting, but then we're going to do, where you meet with our cooperative to see if we're even on the same page before we even move forward. So really, I mean, it is, but it isn't, right? Because like these players aren't coming to even visit if they're not guaranteed, are referenced to gonna get that money.
Yeah, but
right?
But the thing is, again, like on the flip side of that, if they leave, there's nothing also that is holding them there. They're signing for this year for this money or for whatever, and I know they have agents now, so maybe they're starting to structure some of that stuff, and I'm sure these NIL cooperatives too are learning as they go, so they don't lose out. But some of them are just the Wild West, like because you can just be like a guy with it could just be like Mark Cuban with a ton of money, and he's like, get whoever you want, or the chicken guy at Arkansas, and he's like, here's $6 million, like, I just want a good team. Maybe he doesn't care if it's for 2 years. He'll just get.
Well, no, that would only be 1 year.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying maybe he doesn't care if guys are there 2 years because he's like, whatever, just get the best team every year.
And I mean, it could be as simple as Cuban saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you this money, but I want is it Simon Scott or whatever it's called now? Say I want to be called the Cuban Hall."
Won't get that because they
well, no, I'm saying though,
else.
something of that nature. Or I want you to put on one of my logos on your jersey, right? Because they could do that, right? Like, and then he'd be like, "Well, I want that logo on there. Then maybe I'll donate some money." Yeah. But really, it's gonna happen, right? Because you have your. Like, it already happens in college with season tickets, right?
That'd be interesting.
They say that...
Because the NBA has small logo patches on their jerseys.
Why not, right? Like, I mean... And then it starts to come to, like... It could be... Then the brands of the shoes maybe even become bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Because some of these agents are Nike agents, right? So like, you need to go to a Nike school if you go there.
Already like that,
no,
right?
I know, but now it could be even worse, right?
I look at it right now.
We could give you a shoe contract.
I'm like, hold up, was this guy at an Adidas school like some of our transfers? Because I'm curious. Like, we got a guy, Balo from Arizona. I'm like, oh man, I didn't even know you could get like a Nike guy
if you're willing to pay
in an Adidas school, right? Pretty interesting. Well, how has it changed your fandom then? You kind of hinted at it, but how has it changed your outlook on college basketball or your team in general? You got more interested in college basketball overall, less? More interest in your team, less?
I think that really, for me, I think the way you got to look at it is who's your team, right? For us, obviously, as IU fans, and now they're finally realizing, well, we're going to have to spend the money if we want to be relevant again. Like, people aren't just going to come to IU and get paid less. Like, people have been paid for years, okay? It ain't like it's just started now, right? But now IU finally is like, what?
Last year it started, right?
Well, yeah. Well, we all know that's not the real truth. So, like, as an IU fan, I'm all about it. I'm like, yeah, go get the best players. Why not? Like it's fair game. It's not against the rules. So if we can get them, why not? Now, if you're a fan of, a smaller school, or maybe maybe Minnesota.
Well, if your team was in the Pac-12,
yeah, or any of those teams,
you're in trouble.
Yeah,
Indiana's coming for your players.
Then you got to look at it like, well, can we even build a program that's going to be sustainable? I guess the program right now, if you look at it from last year, right, it would be Purdue, right? Like, can Purdue sustain getting and building their program the way it is?
Seems like it, because they.
Well, yeah, but not everybody's going to be Zach Edey.
Right.
Like, to me, I think Purdue was an unbelievable team, right? But if you take Zach Edey off that team, right? Like, what are they? Because, you saw it against UConn. UConn had the best athletes all around, right? So when Edey couldn't dominate, he had his 37 points. That's still dominating. But what I'm saying is they decided to let him eat and took away all their guards. And their guards couldn't beat the other guards, right? So without Edey, do them guards have just as good a seasons this year or not? Or were they a product? Don't get me wrong. I think they're all good players, really good players. But are they creators by themselves? And, that's been a problem even with IU. Yeah. They've had players that weren't creators for themselves, right? But they didn't have Zach Edey basically getting them wide open, right? Yeah. Are they, don't get me wrong, I think they're really, really good players. Mm-hmm. And I'm not dogging Purdue by any means. But
I'd take a national championship run.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, come next year, if you're a Purdue fan, right, they're still going to be really good. But Zach Edey changed so much. like the roles of these players are going to change so much, right? Because they're not having a guy come in that's going to be that dominant, right? Or even half as dominant.
Well, here's the thing, though. If they wanted to, they could have gone out and maybe got Bala.
If they had the money.
Right.
But maybe they don't have the money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and maybe they want to keep trying to, because they had a 7-3 guy coming.
So do you think that overall then, because the one thing I've heard, who knows if this will eventually play out, is that maybe some of these 5-star recruits, they'll look around, and this has happened a little bit even in the past, where you'll get like Michael Beasley goes to Kansas State, or the one guy pops up, Ben Simmons goes to LSU randomly. The wonder was, would they go to, or even maybe these higher recruits, maybe not even the 5 stars, maybe the little low tier below that, will they go to a mid-major for their freshman year so that they can play as these big schools like IU start to gobble up these second year, third year guys, graduate transfers, and start to always have an older team, because that seems like what you want. Maybe you want one 5-star like UConn had, but then you want a mix of like senior guys and second or third year guys to really compete. I mean, Purdue did it with a guy who's a super senior and then a bunch of guys who were veterans. So I think that is a way to compete. I think the balance for me that is the shift for college basketball is, how do you build that continuity? Like what really was difficult for IU last year is that you bring in this whole new group of guys and it didn't end up fitting together. And now they're going to try that exact same thing this year. And maybe it works, but I just think that if you look at the best organizations in anywhere, in in business, and the NBA, like, you can't change out a roster and then the first year, even the Heat, remember the first year, we're going to win all these championships in a row. They got LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron on the same team. They lost the first year. I just think it takes time to build continuity, to build trust, to understand each other. And these guys are even younger, and maybe, again, with the first chance at money, maybe not coming in for the right reasons. I mean, you hope to, but you've got this short portal window to get these guys. How much can you really know in that amount of time? And can you make a really informed decision? That's kind of what I worry about, is like rolling in with a team that I don't really know, that may or may not really want to be there for the right reasons. What's their whiteboard look like for a reason to be at IU? If money is number one, man, that's a tough sell for me in reframing it. Like, I understand in the NBA you're there for the money probably, and then as just the professional opportunities second. Okay, I get that, but in college basketball that hasn't been the bargain. It's like you're there for the school, for the relationship with the coach. It's just changed,
No, and I agree, but you're using UConn as an example, but their point guard last year was a transfer.
Right.
And I mean,
but a senior transfer.
But I'm saying, though, he was still a transfer.
Yeah.
You had McDonald's All-American.
One.
So that's 2 out of the starting 5.
Two of them, yeah.
And
one this year. One was the year before.
And I don't know. I was trying to look it up real quick. How many? I'm pretty sure they had more than that transfers last year.
I think they did, but I'm just saying they had the mixture they had of guys coming back with the transfers. Like, I think you can mix in transfers. I just think but 7's a lot. And guys that and ours aren't guys that, like, I think now a lot of our roster has slid down the pool. Like, Leal and Cups, who played significant minutes for us, are probably our worst 2 players now.
Well, I mean, there's a good chance, but you got to think, though, like, what you're asking for may actually come true next year, because if we're talking about IU in general. Because, Cubs, maybe Cubs don't play that much this year, right? Yeah. But then, next year, then he's a junior, right? So maybe then he's a big part of the team, right? Maybe, like the Tucker we just got, the McDonald's All-American, like, maybe he doesn't get to play a whole lot this year. But then next year he comes in, if he stays. No, but I'm saying, like, that's what your hope is, though, right? Yeah. Like, maybe Malik makes a step this year, but he's still not NBA bound, and he comes back. Yeah. Then you have 3 good players coming back in the portal.
I just,
you know,
I just think that is you're right. That's what you have to hope for. But I just think that's a different. That's just
it's a different mindset than before.
Fundamental change for college basketball, because before all of this craziness, like those guys were all coming back. You knew it. Like Malik will be back, Cups will be back. All these guys who are here this year and have eligibility will be back next year. Maybe one guy transfers, maybe, but there's a good chance that, I mean, who's to say like Cups doesn't get mad or what? Especially like, imagine next year, Rice has an amazing season. Let's just play this out.
And he comes back.
Amazing season, and he decides to go pro. But then they get someone else in the portal who's now also playing over Cups, and Cups is thinking now, hey, I should be playing now. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
but I think
so
that
hard to have to manage the roster that you have and reimagine this future roster every year. Like even in the NBA, you don't have to do that. At least you know, like here's my whiteboard. This guy's got it. 2 years, this guy's got 3. Next year we'll need to find these guys. And you got a GM and an assistant GM. That's like their whole job.
Well, if we just I use projected roster, right?
Yeah.
Like the Cannon Carlisle, right? Like
Yeah,
he's got 3 years left.
Right.
Right? And then like if you were gonna set up a roster based on what you're gonna pick up, you would say that Woodson this season, if all these pieces actually happen, right?
Yeah.
So if Rice he's already there. But say that, he's supposed to have 3 years left. And he's not supposed to be a one and done. Like, he's a good player, really good, but most likely he'll be back.
Right.
So then you're talking about he could be, he was Pac-10 first team last year, so he might be Big Ten first team.
Yeah.
We don't know. And if he comes back again next year, then he probably definitely will be. Carlisle was on the borderline of freshman, but he only played half the season, or he probably would have got more because of some other stuff. But then if we do get that Connor from Wisconsin, right, he's got 2 years left. So say maybe this year he becomes a really good bench player, and then next year he's a starter or like the sixth man to take Galloway's spot. Yeah. Like these are players that can take in those spots. But the thing is like,
do you like it though? I guess that's kind of where we'll
leave this part.
Leave this part for now because we've been tracking the NIL. I still remember like talking about this a couple of years ago, and then even talking to Jason Andreas about what he thought it would be like as a former player who played at Michigan State. He had talked initially about like, I think they should pay for your health care for so he had like different ideas. Like he really wanted to, as a former player, preserve that amateur status and not get into this. And I can definitely see why now. Like the way that this is breaking is total chaos. I mean, maybe we get to a good place, but I am a little worried that, especially with like the way that conferences are realigning, you hit at like what happens to teams who just, for whatever reason, don't have a lot, or even like Michigan, they just like football more, and so they're just not gonna like the people who've got the money are gonna give it to football and not basketball. It's just a weird situation. Like. To change the landscape so dramatically, so quickly.
I think that eventually, down the road, the way it's going, it's like what I said about Cuban. There's going to have to be a give and take with the donors.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to have to be, you donate, this is what you're getting back. Like, the schools are going to have to be intertwined with it.
Why don't
because
the schools have to pay their own money though? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
because
how come all the money that the NCAA makes they get to keep or just give to the schools and not to the athletes? Like these guys are the guys that are making the money. Why does Mark Cuban have to pay their salaries? Like that's crazy,
what I'm getting at. Like
at
some point the donors are going to say, okay, say that IU puts this team together and it probably won't happen, but if they say they go to Final Four, right? Then guess what? Then all of a sudden the hype's back, the ticket prices are up, like the jersey sales are up. This is up. This like the buzz. People are staying more.
The donors
that's what I'm saying. So say they do that for a couple of years, and the donors like, hey, we don't care that we're giving this money, but we want something back.
Yeah,
like now it's getting to where
still paying for their seats.
Like $6 or $7 million. Now I want something in return. Like
I've heard that some of them are asking for like, I want to approve the guy.
Well, yeah, approve
before I give the NIL money. That's kind of a weird thing too, right?
It goes back to blue chips, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it just depends, like
exactly like blue chips.
now if it's Mark Cuban that's saying that, I mean, he's already a pretty good basketball mind.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some people that are extremely rich.
Right.
That if they're making the decision, who knows? Maybe it's their, great nephew or the nephew or grandson, or they're like, hey, we'd rather have this guy than have this one. So when does it become? It's kind of like you're basically a GM at that point, right? Like they're going to be the owner, which is the donors, the GM, and then like I guess the assistants is the actual coaches. I don't know how that goes, and I will say that at a certain point, it's no longer going to be college.
Yeah, it's like the minor. I mean, we're headed towards the minor leagues, right?
And I mean, that's kind of why the G League, they try to do that G League Unite or whatever, is because they saw it coming. And they were hoping maybe they could get – because if they would have got that started, say, 10 years ago, right? Like, I think that
maybe they got
there's no NIL.
Yeah.
Like, because then the top of the top, say – and I think like the overtime elite, right? Like, if they would have allowed that, even, with the top of the top, and they're going to keep building it out, then maybe the NIL doesn't come into play either, right? But, I mean, if you're a kid – like if I'm a kid and say I'm a bench player, or say that I'm just a good but not great player on a team that doesn't have great NIL, right? And say I'm going to be a senior. Why would I not transfer to a powerhouse to sit the bench and get like $200,000 and put a down payment on my first house?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I was trying to tell somebody on the phone. We were talking about it. Like, well, why would he leave Wisconsin to come to Indiana? Like, I was like, well, maybe they're going to offer him like $200,000.
Yeah.
Or $300,000. You don't really know what the number is. I was like,
they're probably getting six figures if they're at IU. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like $200,000, $300,000, something.
Something. Leo's paying for his sister's, college tuition. So
he's an Indiana kid. He can be close to home.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So there's just like Ballo coming to Indiana. They said. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there. But it said like 1.2 million is a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But like, if you're him,
that's serious.
Is it about the money? It is, or is it about him transferring to get a new coach to hopefully get him to the NBA? Which one? I mean, I don't know. Like this is going to be his sixth year in college. How crazy is that?
So he's a system guy. Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. And we'll eventually, I think some of the COVID stuff is still in play here as these guys are starting to run out of eligibility. But that's been part of the chaos is that all these guys that have had extra years are using them, which again is smart. They're here at the perfect time, right? If I had an extra year and could go to IU, or guess what? I'd be going.
Is the Duke player that Roach just came out?
Yeah.
And imagine if you were a Duke fan, right? And you were all excited. This guy's been in your program, and it's the 5th year.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, he's coming back for COVID, and all of a sudden, he's like, I'm going to hit the portal.
And he might just be using that as a negotiating tactic.
He could. Like that R.J. Davis, did he hit the portal too?
Yeah. Somebody actually said about Ballo that they thought maybe he hadn't like closed the door on Arizona, depending on what they were going to offer him, basically. So, if you're in that last year, I mean, some of these guys, it's probably the most Ballo will ever make playing basketball. Like there's a potential if he really develops this year that maybe he gets drafted. But certainly some of these guys are not going to have NBA careers. So $1 million is
huge.
$1 million, right?
Yeah, and think about it. Like for him, he can go overseas and maybe he'll make something like that one season.
Yeah.
But he gets to be like loved in a fan base. Yeah. He gets, surely school can't be that hard. It's going to be a 6th year. Yeah. So I mean, what at this point?
Well, you get your graduate degree. You might be in grad school by now.
6 PE classes. Who knows what he's going to be taking? But
he could, yeah.
So
he might be a microbiologist.
I think that if it's regulated to a certain degree, I like it.
So you're saying that basically you're in wait and see mode. Like you like it from the point that it gives your school the chance to reshape itself if you had a down year, but you don't like it because it feels like it could undermine schools that don't have as much money, so maybe there isn't as much parity, and you might not know your team as much. Is that fair?
Yeah, like I said, I think there should be like a one-time transfer without sitting.
Yeah.
Because like
So I think
it's already heartbroken.
I think it should be unlimited because we're already there.
Well,
I just think that you should have contracts. I think that the school should pay them. I think you should have to sign. If you sign a 1-year contract, well then like they're here for a year, or and then you could renegotiate the next year, or maybe the school can incentivize it and say, you know what, you stay for 2 years instead of giving you $1 million this year, $1 million next year. We'll give you 3 for 2 years. And all of a sudden you got them locked in for 2 years. So there's a negotiating.
So you're
power
saying
on both sides.
you want to have like a certain part guaranteed. If you get injured, then you don't get paid as much.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, there's got because that would have to.
Like pros have
basically
contracts, but
it's
football,
the NBA.
Football doesn't. So maybe there's maybe you set it up more like football, so like you could get cut. It's cutthroat, but again, it's totally different when it's like it would be weird to do that now when it's like private donors and it feels like they're kind of supposed to be doing it out of this like to help the kid and use their name, image, likeness, and you could still do that even if you're injured, right? But if it's the school and you're signing a contract, then I think that they just need to. They're going to have unions, and I think it needs to be like bargained for how the contracts would be set up, and there needs to be some structure to it, just like they have in the NBA. I just don't know if people are ready for that reality. I think it's the way that it'll have to go if they're going to keep going on this road, or they're going to have schools involved. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, are you just going to have a breakaway league at some point and just say, you know what, forget the schools. We're just going to have 2 conferences. We're going to call them the big. Maybe keep the branding, the Big Ten and the SEC. And these are just pro leagues now, and like we're done with the NCAA because the Big Ten and the SEC don't need the NCAA anymore.
No, and that's what they're proving,
Yeah.
And that's probably why the NCAA is getting less and less restrictions, because they know if they get too tight, then they'll just leave.
They'll just leave. They can just be their own thing. Like,
because how many teams now are going to be in the Big Ten?
It's
like 20?
Yeah, they could just be there. There's only 30 in the NBA. You could just be your own league.
Well, I really believe that maybe not this year, but the year after, once all the COVID stuff's gone, like the tournament's going to be dominated by transfers.
Interesting.
Because, like, look, this year, North Carolina State, they had a lot of transfers. And it took them until the end of the year to figure it out. And once they figured it out, like they made it work. I mean, I'm pretty sure Alabama had a bunch of transfers too.
Yeah.
And even like I said, UConn had transfers. It's not like they had a good, like mix.
Yeah.
But they had them. They didn't have the transfers. It wouldn't have happened.
I mean, Purdue had a starter. That was
that's what. And I mean, Edie may not be there if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah.
So I just think that it's going to turn in. Well, I mean, good case is IU, right? Like they didn't make the tournament last year, but they finished what? 6th in the Big Ten or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically they're going to have everybody back that you'd want back, except for Ware.
Yeah.
Right? And they brought all these transfers in, so they're going to be upgrades from what we had. Dramatic upgrades. Not because I love Cup's too young.
If they
Xavier was hurt.
Together.
But you got to think. True freshman starting compared to a freshman of the year.
Talent-wise, I agree with you. I just think that team building isn't just talent.
Yeah, but that talent's going to get us a lot of wins.
Maybe. I mean, let's pivot, and we can talk about the NBA playoffs. Talk about New Orleans. Very talented team. But I'm just curious, just in general, Pacers play tonight, right?
No, the Pacers are in.
They're in.
They're in.
They're waiting to see who they play tonight. So
tonight's good matchup is the Philly and Miami, right?
Miami. So that'll be, and they'll play the.
And you want the Philly to lose.
Pacers side, yeah.
Because if I'm a Pacer fan, I want Philly to lose.
Yeah.
Because then Philly will play most likely Boston.
Yes.
And I really believe Philly can give Boston everything they want. Right? If somebody's gonna beat Boston,
it'd be them.
Like, I don't think Miami would beat them. But Philly would give them a good game at least. Good series. I mean, the other game, the Hawks and the Bulls. I know you're a Bulls fan, but right now, I mean, you can't be too optimistic about the Bulls, even if they win this game, right?
I want them in the playoffs. I think
so. You want to watch the Bulls versus Boston?
Heck yeah!
Oh, come on!
I think the Bulls are. This is going to be controversial.
This is a good take. I'm going to see it.
I think the Bulls are the best crapped on team that I've seen in a while. I think they're really good. Like, they are a good team. Like, name the guys on the Bulls that stink. Like, their starting lineup is straight up good. Like, they're not. They don't. Again, they're missing some things. Like, they don't have a point guard.
They had ball that would make a huge difference.
Not their fault. Zach LaVine's hurt. Not their fault. But I mean, DeMar DeRozan, legit still.
Oh no, he's good.
There's good still. Kobe White could win Most Improved Player this year. Alex Caruso, everybody in the league would take him. Dalen Terry's been playing better lately. Like, they've got some dudes.
If they had the other two dudes there, like, I think that they would have a chance.
Yeah.
I think that without those two dudes, like, Boston is really good.
They're not going to beat Boston. I mean,
like, maybe, like, I can see them giving, like, I can see them, Atlanta, I'm just not a big fan of Atlanta right now. I just don't think, first of all, Trae Young's not healthy.
Right.
And he's just coming back from the big injury. Like, I can't imagine that the Bulls won't beat him.
I think so. I think the Bulls will win.
But
who knows? You could see. So the games last night, you had New Orleans lose.
Yeah, that's different.
Zion hurt again.
New Orleans was a good team.
Talented though.
Good team.
But then
Lakers are a good team.
But then you have Golden State
for that spots.
Then you have Golden State losing to the Kings,
Golden State's done, man. The Kings should have been better this year. Like, they have a solid team. Yeah. The Warriors, obviously, they got Curry.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, that's a whole other story, right? Did they bring Clay back? He went.
I mean, it depends.
0 for 10 last night.
Depends on what he takes for money.
0 points.
Well, okay, everybody crap on this game, and he deserves it. But on the year, 18 points a game. He shot 39% from three on 9 attempts.
But he's still not.
9 attempts a game. Would you take him on IU this year?
That's different. IU's not going to pay him.
I'm just saying.
Like, what does his contract look like for 3 years?
Right.
160.
Well, what if it was for Grayson Allen money?
What's
Grayson
that?
Allen got 3 years, 74. So it's like 20, a little over 20.
I'm not like, no.
No? 20? Where are you going to get 30?
I don't. Right now, look.
Who are you getting in his place?
Listen,
that's
like,
the thing. You got to remember.
If you look at the Pacers, I'm a Pacers fan, right? Right now, I would want Aaron Nesmith over Klay Thompson.
Get out of here.
For sure.
Get out of here.
He shoots just as good, and he plays better defense.
Volume, though. Not even close.
Because he doesn't have to on the Pacers. But he shoots just as good. He's a knockdown shooter.
We'll see.
Do you ever get to part of your day where you're struggling to focus? Because I do. Magic Bind has been an additive routine that I can take with me anywhere, drink it wherever I need, an energy boost. It helps me to be more productive, more focused. I get more done in less time. And it's got all natural ingredients, no sugar, nut-free, vegan, keto, and paleo-friendly. I recommend you try it. You can get it at magicmind.com/199. With $19.9, you can also get up to 56% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. That's $19.9 for 56% off. I actually shared Magic Mind with a friend, and I'll cut to our interaction as my co-host tries it for the first time.
All natural.
I'm just gonna do it.
Energy booster. What do people usually do?
You just chug it? Like a shot?
Yeah, like a shot. Because it's portable. It's an energy boost during the day, like a alternative to your coffee, like another cup of coffee. There's sweetness.
The sweetness.
Oh, there you go. So all natural energy. You would, if you needed.
Is that just caffeine in it?
If you needed a boost, vitamin B12, stuff like that.
So I wonder if that's kind of like what we had that spark. I wonder if it's kind of like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's magicmind.com/19.
Who's winning the title?
Oh, man, that's tough.
With the discount code 19.
Still Boston? They got the cleanest path, right?
56% off.
Well, maybe.
Denver's got a rough, they got to go through it in the West.
I mean, do you feel like New York's really the second best team in the East?
No.
I don't think so.
I think without Randall, I don't think they have enough scoring to really hurt Boston. I mean, they're good matchups because OG's a good matchup, good defensive matchup, and I think Brunson has had an amazing season. But, man, I just can't imagine Boston losing to them. That just seems so unlikely. And then Milwaukee's Giannis is hurt. I mean, that's no good. They're not going anywhere.
So I'll ask you who you think the biggest threat then is the East for Boston.
I don't think there is one. I think if they lost, it would be a catastrophe. I think they are far and away the best team in the East. I don't think they should have. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to sweep every series, but if they.
It only takes one person to get hurt, though.
If they did sweep every series to the finals, I wouldn't be shocked. Because I don't think the 8th seed is going to be good.
Well, that's the 76ers.
That's not going to be the Sixers.
How do you know?
Because I think they're going to win tonight.
Jimmy Butler's different in the playoffs. He does it every year. Everybody's like, no way that Miami's doing nothing. And Jimmy comes out.
It's not about Jimmy, maybe. I mean, he'd have to have a crazy game tonight.
He could.
I just think Embiid is unstoppable.
Yeah, but he's at 100%.
Are we sure?
Yeah, because he came out of the game already.
I just mean, what is 100% for him? He's averaging. You do realize he's averaging 39 and 9. Yeah,
because he's ridiculous. But that doesn't mean he's 100%.
I mean, how much more do you want though? Like, what if we were all like lauding Zion for getting 40?
But what happens if
he's averaging 39?
If Embiid comes out and his leg starts hurting a little bit and he has to go to the locker room?
Obviously,
then
you brought up a good point. Like, obviously, injuries almost always dictate the postseason. Someone gets hurt every year. Embiid got hurt last year and changed the makeup of it. Giannis got hurt last year and changed the makeup of the playoffs. So someone's going to get hurt, and that will change things. I'm just saying, as it stands now, I think Boston could sweep to the finals.
I mean, as of right now, I would think Boston. Obviously, Boston would probably be my choice. But I honestly think that the Pacers have a chance to play them in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, my gosh.
How not?
Really?
Why not?
I don't think Halliburton.
They play.
Halliburton's been good. I think he's been.
Yeah, but they've been good besides Halliburton.
He's been mediocre since the beginning of the year.
Since he got hurt.
Since he got hurt.
Yeah, but we got Siakam.
He's not even going to make all NBA.
I hope not, because it's less money.
Well, yeah, but
no, he's still been good. He still set the franchise record for assists.
Brutal shooting, though. Shooting's gone away. His burst is just not there. He's not like that guy that was blowing by people.
He's been dunking the last couple games. Like he played pretty good.
I just don't.
No, he's not the same. But they didn't have Siakam the first half of the season. Siakam's been playing good, and he's a playoff guy. Like I think that we just put up 150.
So they'll have to get past who? They're on.
They play the Bucks.
Bucks.
And the Bucks without Giannis, and we dominated the Bucks all season.
All right, so
we didn't even have Siakam when we went 4-1, or something like that.
So you think they play the Knicks probably in the second round?
Yeah, and I think that we were 3 games from being in the second in the East. It's not like it was a massive margin.
Like I said, I don't
like
think
we lost to Cleveland by 3 or 4 or something like that at Cleveland. If we win that game, right now we are the 3rd seed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it isn't like. It's so crazy.
Good. I just think it just feels like a lot of their team, besides Siakam, hasn't been there before. They're kind of like Oklahoma City.
Yeah, but they're
Oklahoma
deep,
City's
young.
The 1 seed. Do you trust them as to go to the finals?
Who?
Oklahoma City. They're the 1 seed. You know what I mean?
But they're the 1 seed though. But I'm saying that I think the Pacers' path. Their path to getting there because of who they play.
They got to play on the road though. They got to upset people, play on the road, in game 7s, 6s. And that's gonna be tough.
No, it is. But the Pacers have shown this year they're actually got a really good record against good teams. Yeah. They've actually lost more games against bad teams than good teams.
Yeah, I remember that stat.
So they get better against the better teams.
Well, we see if Halliburton they get a week off right before they start. So
it starts on Sunday, I believe.
So they've had a week off. So maybe if it gets Halliburton healthy, maybe. I mean, he was that good.
He was. I mean, you just don't know.
Then they have Siakam. I see what you're saying.
And Miles Turner has been really good this year. So you got to think like the first thing, Brook Lopez is going to be guarding Miles Turner.
Yeah.
He's going to have to come out and guard him.
And they might have to. Yeah,
we destroyed the Bucks. Yeah. They beat us 1 game this year.
They'll be playing.
They're all 36 and we're all 24.
I know they'll be playing Bobby Portis a lot to guard Turner and some of the
Siakam. Yeah. I really like our chances against the Bucks. Yeah. But
if Giannis.
But I would still say Boston out of the East. I'm not obviously I'm saying that we have a chance to go to these. I mean, it's still unbelievable.
All right. What about the West?
In the West.
Just Denver again?
I mean, how can you go against him?
Oh,
I mean, really,
Jokic is
like,
so good.
like,
What about
LA
the-
ain't beating Denver.
What about the Mavs as an outlier?
What are they? What seed
They're
are they?
4, so they got to beat the Clippers, which is gonna be tough. I know. So, but then they're.
So who is the 3rd seed then?
So you've got you got Minnesota in there.
Minnesota's the 3rd seed.
Yeah, in there. Yeah. So
'Cause
it's 2-3 is Denver, Minnesota. Then you got Clippers.
So
Clippers.
the 1 seed will play the. I mean, really,
So Dallas.
I would rather
Dallas
be.
would get OKC.
I would rather be where Denver is, where they're gonna have to play the winner of Minnesota, Phoenix. So
Phoenix is. I mean, they could beat Minnesota.
that's what I mean. Like, so if they beat Minnesota, Phoenix versus Denver in the 2nd round, I feel still pretty good about Denver, right?
Yeah.
Because who's stopping?
Jokic.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I mean, they have to stop them, but still, like, they can.
Yeah.
They got Porter that can give Durant a little trouble. I'm not
They
saying
got-
to stop him, but they got guys.
They got KCP. They got.
Yeah. So, like, I think that I wouldn't go against Denver. So I'd say Denver and Boston. Denver wins the championship.
Back to back, huh? Yeah.
I mean, do you think that Boston's better than Denver?
I think Boston wins it this year. I do. I think it's their year. I think that Porzingis changes their dynamic along with Drew Holiday. I think White is a better facilitator than Marcus Smart. I just think they're a better
No, they're a good team.
Like they've got continuity to go with the new guys. They're kind of like the NIL team, right? They've got the continuity of Tatum and Brown, who've both been awesome again. They've still got White from the year before. They got some shooters.
So you go with Boston to
They got
win
some
the
shooters
championship.
off the bench too. Like they got some guy, that Hauser guy off the bench.
No, they're good.
Yeah, I think Boston wins it. Like I honestly I would have picked Denver for a while just because of Jokic, and that's the weird thing. A lot of times the best guy in the league just wins it. But like I'm not sure about the rest of Denver this year. I just think Murray's had a weird year. Like he's been out quite a bit. And and then you've got Porter, who's always kind of like a little feast or famine.
Yeah.
And I don't know about I just had.
But Gordon's decent.
He can't shoot this year again. Like he's great with Jokic, but he can't shoot. So he's just like a weird guy for Boston because if you've got him out there, it means that you can.
It just means something though. They won a
You can
championship.
send help on to Jokic, so do you even want him out there? You know what I mean? Like you almost want shooters around Jokic then if they've got it, because Boston can just scramble and switch a lot of positions. So I don't know. I just think Boston's got it.
So you're going with Boston. I don't think that either one of them are, better than the other one. I just went with one. I don't really know,
I think Boston's better. I just think that Jokic is an equalizer. Like Boston, 1 through 8 or whatever is better than, I think unquestionably than Denver. Like you take two guys or either Tatum or Brown over Murray, right?
Tatum and Brown over who?
Over Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? And then.
But they still have.
What about Porter? Like Drew Holiday, Porzingis, White. Do you take him over any of those the other Boston starters? I don't know.
They just have been there though.
I just don't know if I take Porter over any of those guys. If you're taking the 3, 4, 5 Boston guys before you take the 3rd or 2nd Denver guy, I don't know. Maybe Murray, just because he plays so well with Jokic, you could talk me into, but I don't know.
To me, they just feel like, when you're the champ from the last year, and I mean, if the Joker plays anything like he played in the playoffs last year, I mean, he just was unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
He was.
Like a 7-game series, Porzingis can't guard him.
No. Well, I will say that
He'll post him up.
He's the type of guy, like no one can stop him. Like this is that thing in the NBA. It's like I was watching the end of that Lakers Pelicans game, and it's just like whoever gets the ball last, it felt like was going to win, because it's just like you can't stop people in the NBA. They're so good. Like
Zion, the rules.
Zion was like going by people like they were phantoms, and then they would come right back at the other end. They had like Jose Alvarado got switched onto LeBron, I'm like, well, that's done. Like, but that's what you do in the NBA. Is like you just try to play for those switches, and then it's kind of over. So I mean, I just think that the scoring is so important in the NBA, and you know, defense is, you got to have a defender, but all they've got to do is like make their life difficult. Like the thing about Golden State last night was that the guys for Sacramento made Steph's life difficult. Like he still got, you know, his 24, 25, whatever, but they made it hard. Like that's all you got to do hope for Jokic. Like you're not going to stop him. He's way too good.
It's going to be the other players.
Right, exactly. Can you do the Edie where you're like, oh, I can take away his little passes to Gordon, and because I can.
Sounds easy though.
Because I can single cover him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have to double him. Like you can maybe try to go one-on-one some.
He just made so many. I mean, maybe he can't have the Cinderella story he had last year, where like, you know, Davis is in his face and he's fading away from three, and just, I mean, like stuff like that. If he does that,
well, then it's over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't like last year that they weren't guarding him good.
Right.
Like he was just making.
But then it's about the other team, right? Again, my thing with Boston is like Porzingis is good enough to bother him.
Are they composed enough?
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to. Denver's not going to get flustered, right? Like.
Yeah.
Then they have, 70% of their team from last year? So, like, all these people have done it. Yeah. Like, they've already went through this whole run. Like, Boston, they started losing.
They've been there twice, though, now.
And they've lost. Yeah. So, like, that's still got to be in the back of your head, though, right? Like, am I going to get over that hump?